our listeners that the views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the host and guests and not necessarily the opinions of the owners of Global Communications Network and the operators of this.
Today can be the turning point in your life by making a simple decision.
Fundamental questions of navigation. Where am I? Where am I going? And how do I get there from here?
I invite the leaders of our planet to ask themselves these three questions before they make any crucial decisions.
But if you don't make decisions, you're going to stay right where you are.
We are all map makers.
We are in a time of transition.
If we're going to change, we have to change the direction that we're going.
Our planet needs leaders who know where they want to go.
When we change the direction we're going, then we want to make sure we're going in the right direction.
Leaders who can see the big picture.
Because if we're not, we're going to either go backwards or we're going to stay where we are.
Recognizing the psychological and the spiritual shifts and changes that need to be made, often from the inside to the outside.
To be able to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm.
Complex journeys require navigation. The path to the truth is one such journey. This is your GPS. Hairstyling services provided by J.D. Edwards Salon and Spa, Palmdale Shopping Plaza, Madera Street. Accessories provided by Chevette Williamson Jewelry. Standout jewelry for standout women.
Afternoon, everyone. Welcome to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. I am your host, Michelle Malcolm, and as always, it's a pleasure to be in your company today. Thank you so much for tuning in on this overcast. Today's Thursday, right? On this overcast Thursday. I would wish I could say it's a sunny day, but it's quite overcast here in the Commonwealth, well, at least in New Providence. But, you know, I'm because it means it's a little bit cooler outside than it normally would be. And who could complain about that? So, welcome to the show. This is going to be an engaging show today because we're going to be dealing with a topic that is of major importance to all of us, and that specifically is the economy of the Bahamas. There's so much that we can talk about just surrounding this one topic because there's so many different layers as it relates to what is going on in the Bahamas. Much of it has to do with external factors that we have really very little control over, but yet we are being impacted by those external forces to the degree that our well-being and livelihood is seriously under threat. And then there are some who are going to argue that, yes, the world is facing a global economic crisis, inflation, etc., but we would not be in such a dire situation had we managed our affairs better. So there are some who are saying that, you know, I'm not going to use as an excuse the global economic situation. I don't want to hear anything about the Russia-Ukraine war. I don't want to hear anything about all that because had we done a better job of managing our affairs, then we wouldn't be in such a dire strait. So when you hear our leaders issuing warnings like, be prudent and tough times are ahead, they are trying to nicely prepare you for what many believe is the inevitability of some really tough times ahead. I mean, they trying to soften the blow up front so as not to throw everybody into a panic. But truth be told, economists will tell you that we are in for a rough ride. And so the critical thinker and I, C. Alan Johnson, is he on the, he's not on? Okay, waiting for C. Alan to come on. C. Alan Johnson and I are going to be breaking down what is happening as it relates to this global inflation challenge that we find ourselves facing. Let me just make sure I sent him the right link. I did. And what it means for you and I, and how we can prepare ourselves for this rough road ahead. And C. Alan is not an economist per se, but I always enjoy my conversations with him because he calls himself a critical thinker for a reason, because he's going to come from outside the box with regard to the recommendations and solutions that he believes are perhaps the answer to our problem. Jason, let me know when he's on, please. And so this is what we're going to be covering today. You know, the Prime Minister in his recent national address did outline some things that I believe the government is putting in place to try to help to offset some of this, some of the challenges that we are likely going to face as a result of inflation. We've been hearing a lot about the increase in minimum wage. Some saying that this is going to be difficult for some businesses to keep up with. But, you know, the reality is that because of inflation, the cost of living in this country is ridiculously high. And he said he's having data issues and he'll join shortly. Okay. And, you know, more and more people are falling very close to or beneath that poverty line. And so we need to start thinking not just in terms of the few who are well-to-do, but the masses who need help and will need more help. Because truth be told, you know, if we don't find a way to help all to get through this, it's going to impact everyone because of the fact that, you know, people make some strange decisions when their back is against the wall. And we don't want our society to, what can I say, come to a place where, like some nations, particularly in the Caribbean, where you have the very wealthy and the very poor, and that's it. No in between. We don't want a nation where our middle class, what's left of it, is completely wiped out. Where you have the uber wealthy, because we have some of them here in this country, extremely wealthy people, and you have the poor struggling to make it, and nothing in between. So we're going to talk about our economy. How did we get here? What we need to do now, and the way forward, and whether or not the current administration has told us enough about what they plan to do, or is this a situation of us not hearing a plan or not seeing a plan unfold? And we're also going to talk about what you can do to protect yourself and your loved ones and prepare for what is coming. I was in working with a group of young ladies the other day, and we were talking about this inflation situation, and I said to them, you know, you all need to start stocking up on food because a famine is coming. It's, you know, and they were like, mind you, I hear people saying this, but I really haven't been doing it. I say, sweet girl, you better start paying attention to what is going on. Don't just ignore the problem. Don't just act like you ought to be aware by now that that people are going to be hurting more so than they're hurting now. And so now is the time to prepare for that. Now is the time to, as the Prime Minister said, start to be more frugal. In other words, stop spending money foolishly. Start stocking up if you can on food, non-perishables, etc. Because if things continue to go the way that many are expecting them to go, we may see a period of time when it will be difficult for the country to get food in here. So some analysts are saying that you need to stock up for at least 3 to 6 months worth of food to be able to sustain yourself and your family. This is where we're at, people. And I don't want you to think that you should just, I know people right now are having a hard time just meeting their needs for the week, much less 6 months or 3 months. But we have to figure out what we're going to do as individuals, as families, as communities, and obviously as a country, as a nation, to prepare for what is to come. So this is what we're talking about today. He's still not on? Okay, see, I'm having some serious issues today. The telephone numbers to call, 3260271, 3260271, 3260272, 3260272, 3260272, and the WhatsApp line to send us a text message. No calls, but message, text message, is 8010271. We have the WhatsApp line today, right, Jason? Yeah? Okay. 8010271 is the WhatsApp line. 8010271. We have a call already. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Yeah, good morning, Michelle Malcolm. Good morning, listeners.
Hi, how are you?
Yes. While Alan about to come, I call in because I'm a listener. Love you as a sister. But anyway, what we doing now, Miss Malcolm, is like when everybody say the hurricane is coming, everybody say, oh, it ain't coming. Everybody say this time, and then when it come, everybody shuffle around. Yeah. So like Bob Marley said, this gonna be like a thief in the night. You know what I mean? So when everybody puts to love themselves from Doreen and keep on loving themselves, everybody going back in their same life. And when this hit, everybody gonna try to love each other, but it's gonna be hatred with it too. You understand? Because we ain't prepare ourselves for it. So they've been plotting this for forever. They were talking about it forever. Now the whole of 2003 gonna be that's it. Depression, that's it. And they're gonna slacken us up on 2004, not 6 months. The whole of 2003. You understand? So, Miss Malcolm, I never stopped cooking outside. I never stopped loving people. I never stopped not eating. Even if I could, I don't train my body to solve everything because it's not healthy anyway. So on the mind thing. And you see that coconut on the tree? They better learn to start climbing because that coconut on the tree have water and not food. That's something they can't touch. Two things. You might get tired of the coconut, but you ain't gonna die if you eat coconut and drink water. You understand? That's one of the things to fix us if nobody got no garden and all that there. Coconut water, that would keep us for a while. You know what I mean? And Sister Malcolm, we in some dangerous, this Kendall Hanna from Freeport, I've been saying this for 5 years. I've been talking about people. We in some dangerous time. These people don't know what these people, they going around in Freeport, Bahama, hating each other. They taking their money. And who got the money, putting it in the wrong place? They ain't putting it in the love. We in some trouble. Not me, because I could go without eating for 5 days. We in some trouble, Sister Malcolm.
Okay.
Have a good day.
Thanks so much for calling. I understand C. Allen is now on the call. C. Allen Johnson, critical thinker. Welcome to GPS.
I don't know. Somehow I ended up in the bad area today.
I hope you stay up on the broadcast because we need your opinion. You're my only guest today, and I want to make sure that we keep you on. So let's hope everything works out.
Excuse the quality in the background, but that's where I am.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah.
All right. So economists will tell you that we are in for a very rough ride ahead. Global inflation, supply chain issues, war between Russia and Ukraine, all of these things, even though they are external to Bahamas, are definitely impacting us and will continue to impact us to the degree that we're going to experience some rough times ahead, according to economists. But as I was saying, as we were waiting for you to come onto the call, while we have no control over those external factors, there are some who may argue that had we done a better job of managing our internal affairs, we would not be in such a bad state as we are now, or as we will be in the months ahead. What are your thoughts?
I would absolutely agree. We've actually had decades to prepare for today, and even more so in the last 2 years since the onset of COVID, when the world has been rapidly moving towards what is called digitization. We have done nothing to move ourselves in any form of preparation for the reopening of the economy. We somehow seem to believe that business is business as usual. I describe what we're doing right now is getting a fresh coat of paint on an old vehicle, as everybody else is upgrading to the new Porsche and Lamborghinis and etc. And so the problem is that we often like to lay blame on external circumstances. We don't do this, we don't do that. This is not something new that we've known, that we don't have control of external circumstances, but we have not done anything to diversify the economy in almost 50 years, 5 decades. And a lot of people say, you know, oh, diversify into what, or diversify from what. And I'm saying that those individuals who normally talk about diversifying from or into really have no idea what they're speaking about. Most of them just simply repeat what it is that they will do. And I hear people say, oh, we need to diversify, tourism and financial services. And let's use tourism as an example, hospitality, the 10th largest industry in the world. What are we going to diversify into? Number 8, number 7, number 6, number 5? Or are we going to diversify number 11, 12, 13? And we're going to build automobiles, planes, jets, those type of environment. So it's not really moving away from the 10 to the 9, 8, 7, whatever. However, we are small enough to embrace a number of the economic models that our leadership so often like to quote: the green economy, the blue economy, the orange economy, the digital economy, the conceptual economy, the data economy, the aquamarine economy, now the new carbon economy, the silver economy, the circular economy, and others. And we often repeat these things, but we've done nothing to actually prepare ourselves. We have laid some wonderful plans, but plans is what you wish to do. Strategy is how you intend to achieve those. We have never laid out any strategy as to what we want to do. And so even though now, again, we talk about, inflation, we are in for a bad, nasty ride unless we do something quickly, very, very quickly. Because we have no control over inflation. I said on your show before, if the Prime Minister could tell us what he could do, if he could prove he could do anything about inflation in the Bahamas, I'd stand on 2 empty aluminum cans with a rope around my neck. He can't, because we import inflation. We import 100% of what we do. You hear the Prime Minister talking in his speech and other places about how we're going to go into farming, agriculture, and various different things. And I tell people all the time, we often confuse the conversation of food sovereignty with food security. Food security is being able to feed the individuals in your country for 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, 24 months. We are learning today we have no food security. You don't have to grow food security. You can buy it, rice, beans, peanut butter, wheat, whatever it is that you need to feed your people for that amount of time. Food sovereignty is the ability to grow the things or supply the things internally for which you need food security. Look at the grocery store. Have you been in the grocery store lately? You've seen the list of things in the store that the humans consume? How many of them do you think we could grow, farm, and produce and maintain for 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, as far as photosanitary conditions, to turning the corn into cornflakes, and all the variations, etc. And so the problem is that we're good on words. We're good on the linguistic gymnastics type of environment coming from leadership. And Michelle, the pain, and people hear me say this all the time. I am afraid, truly afraid for my country going forward. When Dr. Minister, former Prime Minister, said we had some headwinds, I expected a rough ride. I never expected this type of headwind that we are experiencing now from the global economy, because he was talking about COVID in the industry. We're now talking about the global economy with inflation, the global prices, energy, no income coming into the Bahamas, and a redistribution on how our tourism product is now being consumed. And so we have the cruise ships that is prostituting us, and we have not made an alternative for how do we embrace the new dispensation of hospitality, which is what people experience, and tourism of what people do. And so, but I again, coming back to the original thing, we can solve this problem because the very building out of the new economy can employ tens of thousands of individuals. But we must look to leadership that actually has the understanding of this new reality that the world is in, as well as the ability to develop the strategy, not plans. But we plan on training people for this, we planning on doing whatever. No, strategy on how to achieve these. And where I am on Grand Bahama, let me repeat this for all of the BMs listening to me on Grand Bahama and New Providence. I've said this for a number of years. I challenge any economist, the Bahamian government economists, financial advisors, financial secretary, Michael Arkitis, the Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, or any external finance, anyone from the Chamber of Commerce. If you can present, I challenge them to present a plan for the economic recovery of the Bahamas that Grand Bahama, and now by extension Abaco, doesn't play front and center role in it. And so if you don't hear the government of the Bahamas talking about the economic empowerment and development and shift to the economy of Grand Bahama and Abaco, then you know they're just bringing it. If, no ands, and but. And building these two economies, rebuilding these two economies, first of all, between the two economies are 25% of the Bahamas GDP. And here's it, I don't run on, Michelle, but listen carefully. We hear the government talk about this concept of we're returning to 2019 conditions. Let me repeat, that's not a misstatement. That's an absolute lie. Because here why. In September 1st of 2019, 25% of the 25+% of the Bahamian economy disappeared within 3 days. It's called Dorian. We have yet to begin to even assess Grand Bahama and Abaco, not less built. BPL has not been a friend to the economics of New Providence or any of the other islands in what it's done to the people and about to do with these new rate increases. And so what they may say is you have this arrival, that arrival, but you cannot return to the economy. This is why we don't have data. The Prime Minister talked about his speech about data analytics and all these other different things. It's a dirty word in government. We don't have data. We don't use data. We use how I think, how I feel, what I heard, what I was told, and what I guess. And I don't want to sound negative, but that's what it is. It says that you cannot manage what you cannot measure, and you cannot measure what you refuse to acknowledge. And I'm calling on my Bahamian people, beginning now, we must acknowledge our current condition, the plot apart out of it.
We've been hearing these warnings for quite a while, Tia, from economists, People have been warning us that this is coming. And I'm not just talking about since September 16th of last year. I'm talking for quite some time now. I've been hearing persons saying, in private settings, we are heading towards the edge of the cliff. And you would hear ministers of finance and others say repeatedly, oh, it's not that bad. We're going to make it through this. And even denying at times when people do come public and say, we are heading for the edge of a cliff. But like you say, you can't fix what you don't acknowledge. So what are we to do if we have not, which we clearly have not, prepared ourselves for these days ahead in terms of diversification? What can we do at this point? I want you to think about that. We have to take a quick break. I'm having some challenges with my camera. For some reason, it's not being recognized by the stream. So let me see if I can sort that out. So let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about how we got here and what we can do looking forward to ensure that we don't end up going over the edge of the cliff. This is GPS. We'll be back after these words from our sponsors.
Understanding your microbiome, also known as your gut ecosystem, can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Keeping your gut ecosystem healthy and balanced is essential. Ultimate Microbiome by Youngevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria that can help prevent harmful bacteria from taking over your gut. Increasing your gut's population of beneficial bacteria creates a more balanced gut microbiome, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, skin health, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. Ultimate Microbiome also promotes the production of postbiotics. Postbiotics are key to help regulate your gastrointestinal health. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Plus, we've added our proprietary I-26 Hyperimmune Egg Powder to aid in the elimination of disease-causing gut bacteria and help your body balance its immune response. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for rims, tints, and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Trackline, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires, cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Last is love.
To stay healthy, it's crucial to make sure you get the nutrition you need every day. But it's difficult to get all your recommended vitamins and minerals from food alone. Even in the United States, 94% of people are deficient in at least one nutrient. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 by Youngevity is a simple, convenient, and affordable way to help your body get the essential nutrients it needs. It's an advanced plant-driven multivitamin mineral complex that contains certified organic whole foods, trace minerals, and antioxidants. BTT 2.0 supports your body's natural defense system with a proprietary blend of energy-boosting and body-loving nutrients, plus prebiotics, probiotics, amino acids, and enzymes that support digestion. With an unusually high ORAC score of 8,000, you get even more antioxidants to help combat free radicals that can cause damage to your cells. But to get the most benefit and value from any multivitamin, your body must be able to break down the nutrients so you can fully absorb them. Otherwise, they'll just pass through your system without doing any good. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 was specially formulated with synergizing cofactors to ensure you get maximum nutrient absorption. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 is the easiest way to give your body the balance and complete daily vitamin mineral supplement it needs for optimal support of your overall health. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
This portion of GPS is brought to you by Tiki Bikini Hut at Junkanoo Beach. Great food, cool tropical drinks, and family fun in the sun.
Welcome back to GPS, Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. Michelle Malcolm. See, Alan, I think I need you to mute your microphone while we're waiting to come because we're getting a lot of background noise. Michelle Malcolm here, along with my guest today, C. Alan Johnson. We're talking about the economy of the Bahamas as it relates to global forces and internal mismanagement and what we need to be doing now and going forward to try to turn this thing around, because we have been repeatedly warned that we were heading for the edge of a cliff, and that day is seemingly not far away, and the Prime Minister has been trying to nicely tell you all to prepare. He says, be frugal. We see decisions being made that some are questioning whether or not they're the best decision for us. And you got to be able to read between the lines to understand what is really going on in your country and how it's going to impact you. The telephone numbers to call, 801-0271, 801-0271, 801-0272, 801-0272, and the... Huh?
It's 326.
Oh, so we have no WhatsApp line. The WhatsApp line is dead. Okay. All right. See, Alan, before we dive in some more, let's explain for those who don't quite understand how inflation works. Because would you agree that inflation is a man-made phenomenon? What do I mean by that? Pastor Miles always used to say, no money has left the earth. So if no money has left the earth, how is it that we come to these places where things crash and all of a sudden, everybody's concerned about having sufficient funds to do this and do the next if no money's left the earth? And I know I'm oversimplifying it, but break down for us how inflation happens and whether or not this is a man-made phenomenon.
No, this is more like it is man-made as us, but this type, one we're experiencing right now, is a little more unique than a straightforward impact. Inflation generally occurs when there is more demand than there is supply for goods and services, which then causes the prices or the value of those things to increase greater than the monies that's what we're kind of experiencing in this particular circumstance. If you remember, if you go back to the chain supply because of COVID that interrupted the supply of goods that is needed for the pieces that's needed for finished goods, which then costs a competitive nature for those particular goods. So your money then has less value. You're making the same amount of money, but the things that you want to consume cost more. Okay, so what also happens in our particular situation is the thing is now come to the point that is costing more to produce the things we need in additional to the supply chain due to the rise in energy costs, which people are contributing to the Russia-Ukraine war. So we're getting a double whammy in regards to monies in the marketplace. In America, for which we depend, because of the stimulus and the printing of money, there was plenty money to be spent, plenty demand for consumer goods, and people were spending money, buying stuff, and it became a competitive nature. What they've done is they've pulled back on the lending of money by raising the interest rate, which also caused goods to go up, the price of goods to go up, and which will then we're hoping to stabilize the pull that was coming on the demand for goods by making it more expensive to spend, more expensive to buy, more expensive to acquire. That has not worked in the way we have anticipated. So what we have is almost this variation of inflation coming out of the United States, which then affects the whole global supply chain type environment. But I like to think of us as unique because we provide service. One time we used to say we provide sun, sand, sea, and service. The sun is still here in abundant supply. Sand is still here, the beaches in abundant supply, and the sea is still here in abundant supply. Service is questionable because we almost no longer provide service, but it's something that we can re-adopt, embrace because we have done it before and refine. And service is in the hospitality industry because we say hospitality, which is what people come to experience. So we've mastered that. But then you begin to look at the different economic models. What you're having there is that in every single one of those, it's a level of expertise that's already resident in Bahamians. That when we begin to embrace these models, it will work seamlessly in the total global environment. And so I don't buy the fact that we have to have the full blunt of inflation in the Bahamas. The inflation we see in the Bahamas is one of an import nature because, again, we don't produce anything. And the way for us to combat inflation is to grow the economy at a greater rate than the inflation that is out there. If inflation is 6%, then let's grow the economy at 6% or equal to an equitable amount comparative to what that demand is. We can do that because the problem we have with that, we're trying to attempt that, is that in spite of what government says, we have very easily 50% or higher unemployment and underemployment. The problem with our unemployment figures is if individuals have not looked for a job, I don't remember exactly whether it's 3 months or 6 months, they are considered struck from the unemployment list. Then the question becomes, people are saying, I have not looked for a job because there is no job out there. And in spite of government making the argument that, oh, we hired 190 something people at this job fair and whatever, if you have very easily 80,000, 100,000 or more individuals that is unemployed and underemployed, even 200 people is not going to change the dynamics of our current situation. Neither is 500 or even 1,000. And so we have just not come up with any strategies that is necessary to say we're going to finally grow the economy. And that is because we have a form of protectionist type of regime. And this is why you saw the Prime Minister, and I don't necessarily mean to segue here. We have made 3 fatal errors in the last 30 days. It started almost 10 months ago, but it came to accumulation in the last 30 days.
We've been through what? We've been through what?
We've made some fatal errors in what we did, going back to January, but coming to realization in the last 30 days. And I know people may not understand this, and that's the 3 fatal errors is we have raised the minimum wage, an absolute necessary. In fact, the minimum wage needs to be raised higher than the 260. The question is not whether we needed to. The question is, did we have a strategy for doing so? We don't. The second aspect of that is the generation of power in the Bahamas. The generation of power in the Bahamas is already too high for us to be viable for almost all economic models and investors. And the government in the Bahamas made a fatal mistake in not hedging the fuel charge in the early part of the year and then hiding it for about 9 months, now we're going to pay the consequences over the next 8 months or longer in high exorbitant fuel charges. The fatal error we have done so far in this economy is that we have tried to regulate a capitalistic model that we have designed, and it's an extractive model if you look at the purest sense, but we try to do it without data. And so for me, the choices, the three errors that we the first, and I consider these the Progressive Party fatal errors in their first term, unforced errors in their first term, was the fact that it's the oil error with BPL. Second is because of that error and having to raise the energy bills for individuals, the government then ran to alleviate that. And you know how you say when you're in a hole to stop digging? Well, when they found themselves in the hole with BPR, what they did was train somebody, throw me a shovel, and that shovel was the minimum wage. And so they began digging further and further. And then they says, hey, why don't we dig another hole, because it'll help with the other hole we're digging, and that was the food, the bread basket items. Let me explain to people a little bit about the minimum wage. When the government talks about minimum wage, they're not just talking about individuals making $2.10 per hour. Everybody falls, when we speak about raising the minimum wage, every single person making less than the minimum wage is who you're speaking about. So when the government said there's 60,000 individuals out of the 220,000 individuals that are in the Bahamas that make a minimum wage, they're wrong. That's the 60,000 people that's making the 210. What about the guys making 215, 220, 225, 230, 235, 240, 245, 250, 255, and even 260? All of those individuals was making below the minimum wage that must now be adjusted. That puts a huge burden on an economy where you've added the tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars to the payroll, and there's no growth to cover it because we have not recovered from Dorian or from COVID. And so when you even look at a business, and here's you have a tier business, and the civil service is a good example of that. In the civil service, you have each person has a level, you have the different levels within the civil service. And every level has a degree above the previous level below it. And so that means that when you have me in the civil service, and I'm making 210, when you move me to 260, any individuals in the tiers that was making 260 or 240 or 250 expects to be, the tier is supposed to grow until it reaches the top. And so essentially when you move a person from 210 to 260, let's just use two things. Let's say you got 210 and the next step is 260. That person that's making 210 now is making what tier 2 makes at 260. So you can't have tier 1 making the same as tier 2. So that means tier 2 now must have a new rate of their payroll, and that adds an additional burden of payroll to the government. It has the same impact on small businesses. And so here is that you do the multiple. If you have 10 persons working for you at 210, the government just added $26,000 to your payroll, $26,000 to your payroll without consulting you or even having you prepare in the purest sense. If you have
Are you concerned that based on what you just said, there will be a sort of a backlash where people start laying people off, letting people go because they just can't afford that extra 26 grand? And will we now look at adding to that very long list of unemployed persons as a result? Do you think that is a realistic concern?
It's a high possibility because you remember now, you just changed the dynamics of my payroll system. You've just changed the dynamics of my energy bill to the tunes of tens of thousands of dollars. Let's use Fusion as an example. Fusion is an example they anticipate that $400,000 will be added to their light bill that they did not plan for or anticipate. And so when you have businesses of multiples of people employed, you've added to their payroll. Let's say they have 50 people employed, right? You've added a huge amount to the payroll. You've added hundreds of thousands of dollars or even millions of dollars to their energy bill. And then you've changed the dynamics of the economy for those in the restaurant business. Now, I want you to listen carefully. The government, those 38 things that the government has done, those are not 38 items they added to, these are not 38 items they added to the bread basket or the price control. They added 38 categories, which is about 5,000 to 6,000 different products they added to the bread basket. So now you're going to have businesses that need to make the decision on certain things where they have not calculated yet how to adjust their prices with what the energy bill is bringing in anticipation of contingency going up on a monthly basis. Now you've asked them to limit the profit that they would have made, and then you've asked them to also increase the wages of their workers. And you've asked them to do it yesterday, which is Monday, from the announcement he made on Friday or Thursday. And so the question is, where does the businesses in this country get to create that economic model? Where does the mom and pop? Now listen to what the grocers are saying. The grocers, we have to understand the wholesalers and retailers and even the manufacturers. We have to understand that when they start not supplying certain products or limiting certain products because there's not profit in it, it has a trickle-down effect. It has a trickle-down effect on energy suppliers. And before I get to this point, let's talk about a food store or even a restaurant. If you have other people that provide services for you, they too must add these costs into their businesses. So when a guy was charging me, say, $50,000 a year for the service, he's now picking up the phone to me and say, hey, Alan, I have to adjust this for 10%. I have to charge, instead of $60,000 a year, I got to charge you $66,000 a year. Something, again, I didn't anticipate. Because he now must absorb minimum wage and other price adjustments. He must now absorb the energy increase in his type environment. Now let's go back to the food store. All of these smaller businesses, services, these entities. And so as they begin to reduce in size, these smaller entities are also impacted. So what do? You have no other choice but continue losing money and shut down your business, or you make a decision that you're gonna cut costs, and one of the first things is labor. And so it has that detrimental effect. And so when one person is laid off, they no longer have money to put into the economy. So businesses where they shop at is impacted. Now let's say the food stores decide they're gonna have a little less tomatoes and lettuce and other different things and potatoes they provide to the local restaurants and stuff. Those restaurants, secondly, don't have throughput for people coming in because of they are impacted by those people are impacted by the energy bill, some of them by layoffs, etc. And now they have a lack of supplies to actually service their customers coming in. So it has that impact. And we're not hearing from government or their strategy from creating this quagmire that they've created with these 1, 2, 3 punch on the economic model. And that is because it was happenstance, not the fact that it wasn't needed, it's the fact that it wasn't planned. And so we are suffering a huge blow, an economic blow, 1, 2, 3 economic punch. And that is throughout the entire Bahamas. One of the greatest things about this is, the rare fact is, guess what? The government of the Bahamas has failed to grow the economy. We have no economic growth. Going back, no real economic growth. Going back to 2019, as they like to refer to. And so the question then becomes is, where's this growth that actually allows the economy to be in such a way that this new money is flowing into the economy, that individuals don't see the even 10% rise in their salaries, or because of 23.81% rise in salaries. 24%, just round up, 24% rise in salaries. So the businesses will not see those impacts, nor will, because you would have had that income, and it just new money would have flown through, and government itself is seeing its revenue. Now, notice that even though government is making these things, government has not taken any loss. But Michelle, I got to take a quick break. If you could just pause me for a second.
Yeah.
I got a battery warning. I just need to run quickly to the car to get a battery.
We'll take a quick commercial break because I have a question to ask you on the other side based on everything that you would have just said. So go plug in your phone. Let's take this break, Jason, and then when we come back, we'll continue the conversation with C. Alan Johnson. We are talking about the economy of the Bahamas. Are we in for a very rough ride ahead? Are we hanging on the edge of the cliff by the tips of our nails for dear life? And what do we need to do to ensure that we don't end up going over the cliff? We'll be back with more on this conversation after these words from our sponsors. Stay with us.
Your body's immune system is under constant pressure from things like stress, lack of exercise, and toxins in the environment. It's crucial to be proactive and support your immune system with the nutrients it needs to function effectively. But it's often hard to get these nutrients from food alone. Introducing fast-acting Zinc Plus Immune Support by Youngevity. Unlike zinc-only supplements, Zinc Plus Immune Support builds on the proven power of zinc and adds complementary nutrients to give your immune system extra support. Vitamin D helps balance the effects of zinc, while our proprietary blend of natural fruit and root extracts provides the extra help your immune system needs to work against daily stressors. And we've included Youngevity's exclusive plant-derived minerals to give your body the minerals it needs, but can't get from food alone. And because Zinc Plus Immune Support is delivered in a great-tasting, sugar-free, berry-flavored lozenge, it encourages quicker absorption of all these nutrients into your body. Zinc Plus Immune Support. Zinc plus the extra support your body needs to promote a healthy immune system. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for rims, tints, and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Tracklight, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires. Cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Blessed love.
It's gotten harder and harder to get your daily requirement of vital nutrients from food alone. Without additional vitamin and nutrient support, your health and well-being can suffer drastically. That's why Z-Radical was specifically formulated. It combines a blend of antioxidant-rich vitamins, minerals, and botanicals with the protective powers of fucoidan to help fill the gaps from lack of nutrients in your foods. The core of Z-Radical is fucoidan, a naturally occurring polysaccharide that helps stimulate immune reaction, protecting you against inflammation and oxidative stress. We harvest this powerful mineral-rich nutrient from brown seaweed, harvested only from the world's most pristine ocean waters to ensure the purest quality. It's then extracted using cold process technology to ensure maximum levels of bioavailability. Then we add essential vitamins that help to protect your cardiovascular and nervous systems and are crucial for optimal immune and neurological function. Z-Radical also includes a proprietary blend of delicious antioxidant-rich fruits and berries. This great-tasting combination helps your body combat free radical imbalances that can contribute to a variety of degenerative conditions like arthritis and heart disease. Z-Radical. Experience the power of fucoidan with antioxidant-rich berries, 8 essential vitamins, and more to provide you with potent health benefits. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
Welcome Welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. Michelle Malcolm here, along with C. Alan Johnson. We are discussing the economy of the Bahamas and what it means as it relates to all of these external forces that are leading us into an inflation. Well, we're already there, but anticipated that it's going to get even worse in the days and months ahead, and what you need to be doing to prepare. The telephone numbers to call: 3260271, 3260271, 3260271, and the WhatsApp line. Sorry, 3260272, 3260272. No WhatsApp line today, folks. The WhatsApp phone is being charged, I'm told. It's dead. C. Alan, based on everything you would have said in the last segment, when it comes to big business in the Bahamas, some might argue that they have been making profits for years off of the backs of their laborers, poor Bahamians who are just struggling to make ends meet. And maybe the time has come for them to take one for the team. Now, I know nobody goes into business to lose money. But what are your thoughts on that way of thinking as it relates to, okay, this is going to impact your bottom line. You're not going to make as big a profit, but maybe because you know what the nation is facing, you'd be willing to make less of a profit for a short time until we get through this and then go back to business as usual. What are your thoughts on that?
There's a hidden gem in that question. Wonderful question. The problem with saying take one for the team is nobody knows how much innings this is going to be. The Prime Minister said 6 months. It could be a year. It could be longer. And the thing about it is that the Prime Minister has the gun. Once he makes the law, you have to follow the law. Now, in this conversation is missing something the U.S. Embassy and other countries have been demanding of us for the longest, and you'll never guess what it is.
What is it?
Antitrust laws. In some of the circumstances of this country, you'll be surprised to find out that the wholesaler and the retailer are one and the same.
Oh, I'm not surprised at all.
And so when the government, and the government knows this, and so again,
it's not fair, but we're allowing it to happen.
Right. So when the government, but listen to Michelle, listen very carefully. The government says when something is imported in the country, the wholesaler can only add 25%. C. Alan Johnson is the wholesaler. So I add my 25% profit. Then the government says the retailer can only add 15%. So C. Alan Johnson also happens to be the retailer also. So that technically means I get to still add 40% above cost to it. And so all of these is this stew of corruption, corruptive practices, etc. that happen. You know, you have former prime ministers that own wholesale companies and retail companies, more so in the medical field. And so that's one of the areas that, and the government of Bahamas knows these things, you know, but I speak from a generic point because unless Bahamians become aware of those things and we move to correct it, it's not going to correct it in the fullness. And so the government has to take responsibility for playing these cards as opposed to opening the market for fair competition. And so
with all due respect, I don't hold my breath waiting for that day to come, because once again, we're dealing with this handful of wealthy Bahamians who are controlling our economy. There's another factor in this whole thing that you just mentioned, C. Alan. They own the wholesale companies. Some of them also own retail companies, and they undercut the other retailers that they sell to. So for instance, I am the wholesaler.
Yes.
I sell it to you. You have to do your markup, and then I make sure that when I do my markup as a retailer, I undercut you, so I sell it for less than you, which I can do because I'm the wholesaler. So I take it to business before you could get it. You get whatever's left over. But another part of this conversation that we're missing is that these same families also control the ports.
Yes.
So you can't win for losing.
Right, which, now understand this. Now let's see how that brings you back to Grand Bahama. This is one of the reasons why Grand Bahama and Abaco, with its own new port that's sitting there, we spent tens of millions of dollars building a new port in Abaco that's sitting there unused. A lot of people may not realize that. We have paid and paying tens of millions of dollars for a brand new port that was built in, I think, Cooperstown, that sits there empty and unused. They don't control that harbor. They don't control the harbor in Grand Bahama. And so developing Grand Bahama.
When you say they don't, you mean the rich merchant class?
Right, the merchant class.
Right.
And the oligarchs and the plutocrats.
Right.
And so what happens then is by developing Grand Bahama and developing Abaco, it loosens the noose, the economic noose they have around Bahamians. But what they've done is they're basically taking control of the economy and has kept it centralized on New Providence, not Nassau. Nassau is a city on New Providence. And they have kept the center of commerce on New Providence. How is it Freeport could fit into Grand Bahama 3 or 4 times? And New Providence could fit into Freeport 3 times. Not Grand Bahama, Freeport. So it tells you we have room for growth, we have room for expansion, and we have the infrastructure that is necessary to accommodate any type of growth and development. And I want Grand Bahamians to listen to me very carefully, more so you guys in New Providence. On New Providence, to buy a 1/4 acre of land, not those little government plots they give you, it will run you very close to $200,000. That's just for the land. You haven't built your house. On Grand Bahama, you can buy land and build your house, 1,600 square feet for the same price, just as what you're paying for land alone. So the problem is, and if you want to add an extra 30,000, you could have waterfront. So what happens is, by fixing the Grand Bahama economy, because they don't own infrastructurally, have control of it, this is why they have deliberately not developed Grand Bahama. But here's the political aspect of that. If you fix Grand Bahama in the next 2 years or so, and I hope we can talk about this in the month of November, in the next 2 years, first of all, let me say, the hotel, for those who think the hotel is going to fix our economy, I hate to say, wake up! Or the airport. Look, man, the airport and the hotel was open before. We're in the same position. The airport and the hotel and the other hotel port for the other hotel, what they call the Carnival Cruise Port, it's not going to change Grand Bahama. We need real economic spur on our island. But let's go back to what I was saying about fixing Grand Bahama. You would have almost immediately 80,000 jobs within the next 5 years that opens up on Grand Bahama. That means 80,000 individuals would have to leave New Providence and come to Grand Bahama for high-paying jobs. And people around New Providence and people saying, you know, Seattle might be BS, and he's just talking. Why wouldn't government do this? Power is the answer. Loss of power. See, you look at it as saying 80,000 individuals moving to Grand Bahama, having a wonderful life, homes, cars, good careers, etc., business owners, etc. That's how you look at it. Let me let you know how the oligarchs look at it. 80,000 adults leaving New Providence is 80,000 registered voters. If there's 6,000 people in each constituency, that's 12 seats. So the power base, the political power base of New Providence would shift to Grand Bahama, for which they don't control the airports, they don't control the harbor, they don't control the land, Because in case for you people on New Providence don't know, less than 50% of New Providence is occupied. Most New Providence is empty land. Just look at Google Earth. You're living together like sardines. It's a controlled environment. So they don't control the land. In fact, East Grand Bahama is twice the size of Freeport, hundreds of thousands of acres, mostly owned by the Crown. And including access to beachfront properties that you could go and develop in East Grand Bahama. But fixing it would cause an economic revolution that was promised by Sir Lynden Pindrin and the Progressive Liberal Party. But you've had people like me who've told you for almost 2 decades, and no one has dismissed what I've said. No one has argued against it. No one, the economists don't. But we've had other leaders that sell you trinkets, dreams. They tell you, I got a behemoth dream for you. I just need you to go back to sleep. I got a behemoth dream for you. Just go back to sleep. And so I'm asking you to wake up and to build your own dreams. Grand Bahama is the new frontier of the Bahamas. And Abaco, with the leveling and the new economic model of hospitality and tourism, also plays a major role, because the hundreds of thousands of acres on Abaco is also owned by the Crown, which basically means the government, which basically means you. And so we just have to have a conversation, not that people say you don't have to do anything and I'll give you $100,000 a year. If you elect me again, I'll do it right this time. And you have to educate yourself and become informed of the new economic models where you, your children, and grandchildren can fit in. We love to call ourselves a Christian nation. However, we are a nation that abides by Christian principles and rules of law. And I say to you, if you want to abide by Christian principle, one of the greatest principles is a wise man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. Grand Bahama, and by extension again, Abaco, and other islands are viable also. It's just that Grand Bahama already has the infrastructure in place for immediate use. Not next week. I say next week. I say not next week, now. Those other places are months and years away from getting infrastructure and resources. The infrastructure is here already in place. If you fly over here to Grand Bahama tomorrow, you could begin building tomorrow. And so the environment is here for the business. What we don't have is that we don't have leadership with vision, leadership that understand how to build the ecosystem using the strategies of the 21st century, not plans, not conversation, the strategies of the 21st century. You hear the governments of the Bahamas talk about these new environment, these new economic models. The previous administrations talk about ecotourism and heritage. The name for it today is called the orange economy that the PLP now talks about. The previous administrations talk about tech hub. The name that this government now uses is digital. They're identical, they're the same, just two names for difference. Okay? Then now you have the government now says to you, ecotourism. That's the previous administration under minutes. But this government is saying the green economy. It's the same thing as ecotourism, the eco environment. So nothing has changed except they've rebranded it, but they have not done anything to actually lay out a skeletal or a strategy on how to bring this ecosystem into fruition. In 1 year, for a small company with 40,000 people, the CEO would have been fired. Look at what happened in the UK. They already caused the Prime Minister to resign as of last night.
4.5 months?
Yes, because she could not do what she said she was going to do. But we let these current leadership sit for 5 years and we say, well, I'll punish them. I'm going to vote them out. And I can put the other guy who couldn't do what he said he's going to do back in and as punishment for this one. And then, and you keep doing it. And Einstein has a description. They call it insanity. And I'm simply saying is the new economic models of the world gives you opportunity now you will never have in another 1,000 years. We are in the first convergence economy revolution. They call it the first convergence revolution, where digital and the analog world merge. A lot of people call it the metaverse and multiverse and these things. We are also now in the second digital revolution, the third tech technology revolution or technological revolution, the fourth industrial revolution, and the fifth social revolution. And so essentially, we are in a position also in this whole new carbon economy that gives us access to resources. DeFi, they call it decentralized finance, property tech, tokenization, which is something we have to do for the entire economy, and lost my train of thought. But these things, what do they call it? Fintech, sorry. These things are available for Bahamians to give them access to capital, many for 0% interest, and so much for zero payments using a concept in finance called off-take agreements, using real estate and property as a backstop. I'm going to have a show on that with you very soon. And basically, you no longer need Royal Bank, Scotiabank, Commonwealth Bank, Bank of the Bahamas, anything. Why would you go to them and pay 12% loan, 9 months to get approved for a house, when literally speaking in weeks, you could get approved for a house for up to $700,000 as long as it builds into it an off-take agreement and zero interest. And get this, zero payment. I challenge you to call the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Investments, and the junior minister and the economist, and let them say that C. Allen Johnson just said is not possible. But it is what it is.
I have someone here who's taking issue with you, C. Allen. Perlene says, you know what I don't understand with C. Allen? He knows all of these things. Why isn't he out there helping to enlighten the people by being more active and advocating? Every time C. Allen, we be in awe of what he's saying. Why doesn't he do something? He's very smart and intelligent. All of this talking, why not help to make the change? How do you respond to that?
My response to that is this. You don't go into a strong man house and force him to do anything. The strong man I'm talking about is you. I can't force you to be successful. I can't force you to want something. I can only inform you of the opportunities. However, in the shortest period of time, for the time I've been home, many people have thrown bricks at me. Oh, you should see the bricks they thrown. But very soon, before the end of this year, I'm going to show you this beautiful mansion I built with the bricks they threw. Beautiful. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I may just be the first legitimate legal billionaire in the Bahamas. It's beautiful. And I am going to carry some people with me. I can't carry everybody with me. Maybe like you, Michelle, and about 20,000 others who wants to be millionaires. The rest of you who are happy with just overbroke suckery in a just overbroke system, we will make sure that you have jobs that pays livable wages, $650 to $700 a week, so you can pay your bills if the government goes up on your energy bill. But I'm simply saying to you, and I said to them, is this. Let me use one example of a platform I have built. It's called Hospitality as a Subscription and Tourism as a Service. And it uses the very off-take agreement there is, where the typical person will come to me, and in the same, let's say you're trying to buy a $200,000 home with 5%, the same down payment that you would use to put down on the house, that $10,000, what you will do is let me help arrange an off-take agreement for you to get into the VRBO business. Some people call it bed and breakfast. VRBO is for longer term rental, where you would use my platform, raise the money that you need to build your home and these VRBOs, or bed and breakfast as you call it, and it becomes self-funding. An off-take agreement is where I get, let's say you have 52 weeks in each, let's use 2 units as an example. You have 52 weeks in each of those 2 units. What I would do is I will pre-book one of those units for 10 years in advance. Let's take the income from that 10 years in advance and advance it to you and hold the title to your home and to your VRBOs. And every year that you fulfill a part of this off-take agreement, I will release 10% of the value of that property to you. So in essence, I am making you a pseudo manager that gets 10% ownership plus a salary for managing those 2 units. But you get to live in the house that accompanies those 2 units. And in 10 years, you will own this piece of property with an income that's coming in from 2 fully functional 5-star units, a house where you have no mortgage payments, and that's built as a passive home where it uses 10% of the energy. And guess what? No monthly payments as long as you service within the industry. It can be a more elaborate conversation. And based on my platform, in the initial 4 to 5 years, I anticipate about 2,500 to 3,000 individuals within the first 5 years. Then as we begin to build the infrastructure, because understand, just like in Grand Bahama, nobody is going to buy the hotel because people don't come for rooms, they come for things to do. So in the same way with my platform, we have to build the same infrastructure for golfing and deep sea fishing and all these other different things that people come for tourism for. Nobody's going to build an airport for people to fly in and have no place to stay and nothing to do. And so at the same time, when we say we're going to build Grand Bahama hospitality or tourism product, we have to build the airport. We have to build the room nights. They don't have to be that hotel. We have to build the activities. And at the same time, we have to build support infrastructure, whether it be police, fire, medical, all these different things. That's the plan that we need for Grand Bahama. And you believe it or not, it's easier than you think. And billions of dollars is sitting waiting for you to simply have a government to put in place the correct legislation, the correct policies, the correct programs, and the correct procedures. And it can be done in a matter of 2 weeks. And
in all fairness, to Pauline's point, have you presented, it's a very innovative idea. Have you presented the concept of the idea that you're now discussing to any administration? And if so, what kind of response have you received?
You've heard more of what I tried to present to them than they did when they came. I've spoken to almost every member of parliament for the last 20 years. If you go to my social media page, if you heard me on the air, I've always been an advocate for us adopting the future. The problem is no one in the Bahamas seemingly wants to have the future because they were comfortable in the past. And again, the fact that I can lead you to water, I can't force you to drink. I'm hoping now that the economic condition that we will encounter is going to create a thirst in Bahamians that they will demand a drink. And hopefully this well of new economic opportunities that I've been talking about for almost 2 decades will be an opportunity to be tested. Because we've had people come in here, you know. I've talked about a tech hub for almost 2 decades. I told you the Bahamas was the #1 digital prepared place in the world. They took people who could barely turn on their phones in the last administration to actually attempt to execute it. This administration has done the same thing. One used a female, this one is using a male. And they go to Google and they talk. Stevie Wonder, which is these ministers in charge of technology, comes to Ray Charles, which is the people, and tells them how beautiful this painting is gonna be. And then they hire, believe it or not, they hire blind Blakes to help them accomplish it, some foreigners who come in. And we've spent billions of dollars in the last 30 years to digitize our economy, and we can't get a paper document. We have this government right now who is now talking about technology. You know, how long have you been able to go to the coffee place and get free Wi-Fi, to Burger King, Wendy's, McDonald's, Kentucky, and free Wi-Fi's? How long have you been able to go to locations and get free Wi-Fi? That the revolutionary thing in the Bahamas is that you running a business, or you do it, if you're a student in school, you can go to the park in the middle of the night and do your homework and run your business. That's revolution thing. We have yet to lay a skeleton for the digitization of this economy in 20 years. And I say, I got a $10,000 reward for anyone to bring me a written skeleton or a strategy for the digitization of the Bahamian economy. And I say there's none that exists either for digitization of the government. The government has been struggling for these 10 years to digitize the government and selling it to you as if though they're digitizing the economy. We almost came to the pillar of moving towards digitization with COVID, you know. And then as the economy opened up, everybody withdrew. Remember, everybody was using technology and we need to have delivery and we need to have apps and everything. It's gone away because we are comfortable. We like, with all due respect, I'm a Bahamian too.
Okay, we'll take a break. Take a break because we have a call on the line. Let's go to the caller. Caller, welcome to the
point. We are like pigs that we keep running back to the slop.
We have a what? Pig
we are
running
like
back to the
pigs,
slop?
and we go back to the coolness of the slop, and that's what we do.
Let's go to the caller. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Hello, my dear. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing excellent. I just clicked on the radio and I heard Mr. Johnson actually speaking, and I think it's a very pretty great idea. My question to you, Mr. Johnson, is that's correct.
We're listening. Go ahead.
As an individual who has asset, basically property already, and basically it's no mortgage. These are these are not generation property or anything like that. But for an individual who has property, how would that work if we wanted to use your concept with the Airbnb based on, let's just say, if I had a property and my property is valued at about $150,000 to $200,000, would your concept include that because I already have the property, that what you all would then do is actually come and basically set something up, and basically we come into the same agreement that you stated? Could that work or no?
Yes. See, it is the same agreement. An off-take agreement is where if you already have a property, that much equity that you will start with. Let's use an example. You say you have a property for that's worth $500,000, right? And we're about to do a $1.5 million project. Essentially, that means that property now has a value of $1.5 million. And because now I did not have to buy that property for you, you start with a $500,000 equity stake or the value of the property net. And so as you begin for the same 10-year process or whatever less amount of time in that offtake agreement, you will now be able to move to satisfy that offtake agreement in less time because you have less liability out there versus someone who came and he had to acquire the property for them and build the property. So let's say a regular person would take 10 years. You may now be able to satisfy that offtake in 6 years.
Caller, you need to turn down whatever you're listening to us on because we're getting some serious feedback.
Okay.
All right. Thank you for calling. All right, we got to take a break. Let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the way forward for the nation and what you as an individual can realistically begin to do now to prepare for these rough times ahead. The Prime Minister says, be frugal. What does that mean exactly?
Yes.
This is GPS.
Understanding your microbiome, also known as your gut ecosystem, can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Keeping your gut ecosystem healthy and balanced is essential. Ultimate Microbiome by Longevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria that can help prevent harmful bacteria from taking over your gut. Increasing your gut's population of beneficial bacteria creates a more balanced gut microbiome, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, skin health, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. Ultimate Microbiome also promotes the production of postbiotics. Postbiotics are key to help regulate your gastrointestinal health. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Plus, we've added our proprietary I-26 Hyperimmune Egg Powder, to aid in the elimination of disease-causing gut bacteria and help your body balance its immune response. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Welcome to Sunshine Auto, the hardest place on the planet for a rims, paint, and tires.
We are your auto superstore for rims, Lexani, Azaras, Trueform, Western, Lux, Fuel, Trackline, Tough, Rough Racing, Velocity, Mud, All-Terrain, and low-profile tires, cars, homes, and commercial window tinting. At Sunshine Auto, we put God first and customer is king.
Glasses love.
To stay healthy, it's crucial to make sure you get the nutrition you need every day. But it's difficult to get all your recommended vitamins and minerals from food alone. Even in the United States, 94% of people are deficient in at least one nutrient. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 by Longevity is a simple, convenient, and affordable way to help your body get the essential nutrients it needs. It's an advanced plant-driven multivitamin mineral complex that contains certified organic whole foods, trace minerals, and antioxidants. BTT 2.0 supports your body's natural defense system with a proprietary blend of energy-boosting and body-loving nutrients, plus prebiotics, probiotics, amino acids, and enzymes that support digestion. With an unusually high ORAC score of 8,000, you get even more antioxidants to help combat free radicals that can cause damage to your cells. But to get the most benefit and value from any multivitamin, your body must be able to break down the nutrients so you can fully absorb them. Otherwise, they'll just pass through your system without doing any good. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 was specially formulated with synergizing cofactors to ensure you get maximum nutrient absorption. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 is the easiest way to give your body the balance and complete daily vitamin mineral supplement it needs for optimal support of your overall health. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
This portion of GPS is brought to you by Tiki Bikini Hut at Junkanoo Beach. Great food, cool tropical drinks, and family fun in the sun.
Welcome back to GPS Global Paradigm Shift on Global 99.5 FM. Michelle Malcolm here along with C. Alan Johnson. We're discussing the economy, inflation, and what you need to be doing to prepare yourself for the rough ride ahead. The telephone numbers to call, 3260271, 3260271, 3260271, or 3260272, 3260272. One more time, 3260272. No WhatsApp line today. Hopefully the WhatsApp line will be back up in time for tomorrow's show. All right, C. Alan. So they had a job fair the other day. 1,500 people showed up. The line was from here to East Jabim. People looking for jobs. People looking for jobs. People looking for jobs. Is that what we should be encouraging? What do I mean by that? Should we be encouraging people to find a means by which they can take the skills that they have and create opportunities for them to own their own businesses? And I'm not talking you have to start with some $100,000 or $1 million or whatever. But start on a very small scale and build up. I used as an example the other day, we were talking about this. Tiki Bikini Hut, one of my sponsors, Byron Coley, Austin, started his business with $50 and a cooler. And he filled up the cooler with ice, put some drinks in there, and went on the beach. Started selling to the tourists. Now he has a fairly successful business right there on Junkanoo Beach, where he started with a $50 and a cooler. And there are other examples of people who took the lemon that they were handed and made lemonade. We nationally always seem to make decisions particularly our politicians, the persons we elect, based on jobs. Now, I hear the Prime Minister, what he had said in his recent address about encouraging more Bahamians to become entrepreneurs, and the amount of money being invested in helping to develop businesses. But do we need to have a, no pun intended, paradigm shift as it relates to getting people to open their eyes as to how to take this dark cloud and find the silver lining in it and turn this adversity into an opportunity? Are we looking in the wrong direction once again?
Yes, we are. Absolutely, there's nothing wrong with jobs. It's just that there's a difference between jobs being jumpstart our business sectors and jobs being just over broke suckers in a just over broke system. There's an absolute difference. The problem is we are not developing systems in the Bahamas that develop skill sets for the 21st century that allow individuals to have a single individual to qualify for homeownership, to build a retirement plan, to send their students off to college, to send their children off to college, etc. What we're doing is we're creating jobs that allows you to barely survive, because we have not developed any new industries except the prostitution model of tourism, where cruise ships is the majority of our customers. Do you know we count people on cruise ships who don't get off as our total visitor count? What benefit? Do you know that we pay cruise ship passengers who don't get off the ship? We pay the cruise ships just because they count as part of the passenger count? It's madness. The model that we have is that why are we looking for $50, $25 from tourists buying trinkets when we can develop the hospitality model? This is what they come here for. We have these same inclusive hotels called cruise ship that contaminates our waters. Do you know, because we have no onshore power, a cruise ship one cruise ship park in our harbor produces the enough carbon and pollution of 1 million cars. Every cruise ship, 1 million cars. Every time they park at your harbor, I want you to think of 1 million cars with their engines running. Yet we say global warming and climate change and the environment and everything else. Why are we building more cruise ports here in Grand Bahama, Eleuthera, Long Island, when we should be developing a tourism model where we can get 1 million people rather than 7 million people who's looking to a hole on a cruise ship to come to the Bahamas and spend a week? The world has changed where you have millennials and Gen Z that has the money, these digital natives and nomads who would visit the Bahamas because we are near shore for a vacation. We just haven't given them anything to come here for. And I'm simply saying is we have not developed a model, so we do need workers in this environment, but we haven't skill prepared our Bahamians for the millions, if not hundreds of millions of jobs that's out there that requires a very particular skill set. We have not prepared them for that. We have simply said, we're going to put you in the education system that's failed. In fact, we have an education system that has set the COVID and Dorrit has set us back at least 1 to 2 decades in education of an education system that was already behind, is now a decade behind. And I challenge anyone in government, the Ministry of Education, the new Director of Education, to deny it. And when you don't just say CRM is wrong, you know like how the Minister of Finance, the Junior Minister of Finance says, the international people are saying the Bahamas economy is going to crap. And he says, well, I don't think it is. He said, he don't think it is, but provide no evidence of what you think and what you feel. Don't let them say, well, C. Allen Johnson, I don't think C. Allen Johnson is right. You don't think he's right? He has the evidence to show that he's not right. These are the things that we have to demand. We have an opportunity to create the largest number of millionaires of any country in the world, just from our hospitality and tourism product alone, without even looking at the other 12 industries that the government keep talking about. The orange economy, the blue economy, the green economy, the carbon economy, all these various different things. But there's always going to be a new support structure. But it will take us at least a decade to get to the point that the 150,000 families that we have in the Bahamas, of the Bahamian families, could join the other small group of Bahamian families of being self-sustainable, where jobs is not a necessity, but they own their industries. And so they could transition to ownership. And ownership doesn't necessarily mean running a business. It just basically means that you own the business infrastructures within your country, whether it's through investment, direct or indirectly. And so I'm saying to you that what government has been preaching is garbage. And so what we have to do is we have to now redefine what is it that we have an expectation. And for those who know to speak the language of the 21st century, let them speak rather than speaking something you're familiar with.
We have a call on the line. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Sister Malcolm. Hannah again. You remember when Hubert, the past Prime Minister, Hubert Minnis said, the sum is all up. The rich gonna get richer and the poor gonna get poorer. This is what he meaning right here in 2023. This the quotation of that right there. Have a good day, Ma.
All right. Thank you so much for calling. The telephone numbers to call 3260271, 3260271, and 3260272, 3260272. All right. So we clearly looking in the wrong direction, but you know, it is where we're looking. We're telling people
No,
that
but
they
Michelle,
need to... Go ahead.
let me say this point. What you have to do is you have to recognize our position. We have taken the subservient position that we are here to serve our leaders, when it's our leaders that are here to serve us. We have them telling us what they're going to do for us, rather than us telling them what they're going to do for us. They tell us, well, I'm going to do this for you, I'm going to do this for you. No, we need to get in the position, more so for Grand Bahamians, and we need people from around the Bahamas to support Grand Bahama as we begin to have a conversation on the rebirth of the Bahamian economy. Is we need to tell our MPs individually. I don't want to scream at no FNM, and I don't want to scream at no PLP. We need to have a conversation with your MP and say to him or her, this is my expectation from you. This is what I want to hear you represent as a collective. I don't want to hear what the party is going to do. I sent you to Parliament, not the PLP. You just happen to be wearing their color. This is what the legislation I want happen. These are the tools that I want to have. These are the policies I want to see in possession. And so when we begin to make these demands of the individual MP, we only need to get 20 of them to agree for the Bahamas to get the Bahamas we want. So stop looking to political parties as a solution. Take control of your employee, which happens to be your member of parliament, and tell them what to do. But you have to come together as a community, as a constituency, and make that demand. And you'll be surprised what 5 of you in that constituency can do. 5 of you, influencing 5 people is 25. Another, they influence 5 is 125, 625, 3125, 15,625. That's the power you have. Remind you, there's only 6,000 voters. And so if 5 of you was to get together and get to understand the new global economic model, and the fact is that every resource you have, the Bahamas is the value. It is the Bahamas that's worth the trillions of dollars that you can leverage to get what is necessary to move your family from where it is to where you want to be.
We have a call on the line. Caller, welcome to GPS.
Yes, this goes to the political tinker. You go in a circle. You remember when the PM came, before she got elected, she said, we're gonna not put the tree increase on the light bill, we're not gonna lie, we're gonna do. Now you hear on the radio say it's nothing she could do and they don't. What is you talking about? How could we go to her and she can't do nothing? You run in the circuit for the people. Get to what we're gonna do when this stuff get locked down, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you for calling.
Michelle, what happens is, what the government is saying is, we cannot disrupt the economic model we have that benefits the select few, because the United Nations laughed at us when we said we was going to reach 30% by 2030, because they know where we are. They know where we are with wind energy. They know where we are with solar energy, and they know where we are with tidal energy, and the resources we have. We can reach 100%
renewable energy, almost free energy, almost free.
Okay,
within
but
10
Alan,
years.
the caller has a good point though, because you make some excellent points, but quite frankly, I am not very confident that anything that you're suggesting is going to be implemented before this crash comes. So what do people as individuals right now need to be doing to prepare themselves and their families to face this impending crisis?
That's what I'm saying to you. We don't have it this way. Unlike other places that has social safety net programs, we have none.
Right.
We are that creek paddle without paddles. We're gonna have to depend on others. And here's where our strength comes from. Building the new Bahamas is an economic model.
But that's not going to happen in time, Alan. Let's be real. It's not going to happen.
See, Michelle, what I'm saying to you is, if you understand the choices out there, the very models the government talk about, the government talks about all of these various, the aquamarine economy, the digital economy. These models doesn't take weeks and years to develop. These already developed. We're not developing this economy. We are integrating it. That's like saying, oh, we can develop. I'm actually develop a car. I'm actually to get in a vehicle.
Right.
And I'm simply saying is that we can get into these vehicles now. The problem with getting into these vehicles is it emancipates you. Because when you get into these vehicles, you are the driver. You do not need to depend on any government to drive you. This is why they don't want you to have your own vehicle for the economic emancipation. If we need, right now in Grand Bahama, we need 20,000 rooms. There is digital platforms out there, and the government, the same way we sign an agreement for a foreigner, and they use the word Bahamas and say, we come in to buy our locale. They take the name Bahamas. They're not buying that building. They're taking the name Bahamas and says, there's a building in the Bahamas. And they go, oh, in the Bahamas. That's where the value comes from. The word Bahamas is the value. The cruise ship that has a nowhere cruise for $50 adds the word Bahamas to it and charge $500. We already own the brand. Why don't we use it? If you go build a house in Miami for $500,000 and say, I just want to build a house, they go, you got to be crazy. An apartment in Miami, a 10-bedroom apartment. A proper prepared business plan within a matter of 60 to 90 days. If you say, I'm building 10 bed and breakfast in the Bahamas and have the right policy for you to have access to the capital, people will say, in the Bahamas? That's a different thing. That's a different story. You're not renting for $600 a month now. You're renting for $1,000 a week for the same apartment. See, that's the part of the off-take agreement. They want you to believe that you need to go get a government home and live in this cage and go get a minimum wage job, and 2 or 3 of you lie about your income. This is why we have to lie about our income, and 80% of the mortgages and the mortgage corporation is in default. And the same thing across other places, because you lied to get into the house knowing you didn't have the income. I'm saying, let's generate the income, but let's stop looking to government. Let's tell those 39 individuals and those 16 people in the Senate, this is the way it'll be run. Let's not go to the House of Assembly and scream and holler. Even fixing our immigration laws is part of the system. That the immigration laws in the Bahamas for the illegals in the Bahamas can be fixed in 30 days. 30 days, and the illegals will have to leave the country. They will come and knock on the door to ask you to give them a ticket over here. They don't want it fixed because they want you to compete with them for the low-paying jobs. I'm simply saying is that these people don't want solutions. They want to cloud the issue, have you fight amongst yourself for colors, for gang membership, fanatics. Just you're busy fighting your brothers and your sisters, your mothers and your daughters and your fathers for these gangs that has no benefit for you economically except for crumbs. Well, you're making these choices. See, I'm not making these choices for you. You are. I am not the only person in the Bahamas that has an idea of how to build up. In fact, when you hear me speak, don't ever in your wildest mind believe this is C. Allen exclusively speaking. I am the collective intelligence of individuals within this country expressing themselves, not me. They are expressing themselves through me. And so it's arrogant for anyone to believe that, well, you see, I don't think he knows everything. No, I don't. However, I got people around me that do. And I happen to be able to express the collective intelligence of them. which is also you. You have the ability to have the same level of intelligence access that I do. But if you decide that you want, he don't like my party, then you stay where you are. You're at the water. We are at the waterfall moment. We could drink or die of thirst today. And I'm saying to you, we can transform this economy, but we can't have conversations like, they're raising my bill again. Let's have discussions on not what they're doing to us, but the solutions we want to see them done. Don't let them tell us that they're going to do solar in 30% by 2030. Let's go have a conversation that says we can do this right now. If you could borrow $1 billion to do whatever, how about paying $1 billion to give me some free light? How about, instead of technology in the park, putting fiber to the premises, which is a human right? These guys are arguing for human rights, for people, but they're not arguing for human rights for you to have broadband access. They say hospital, medical, all things is human right. Why don't they give you the tools for the 21st century is also a human right? You ain't heard no one person yet argue that you have a right to broadband. Not one. Broken promises, comfort to a fool. Listen to me carefully. A person calls you a fool when they don't have the ability or the intent. If I have the ability to do what I say, but not the intent, I call you a fool. If I have the intent, but not the ability, I just call you a fool. When a person makes a promise to you, they must have the ability and the intent to do it. Other than that, they're calling you a fool. We know these individuals don't have the ability, whether they intend to or not. They have proven it for 50 years. Why do you believe them now? Try something new. What do you have to lose? As of today, we need about 80,000 jobs in the next year to offset this economic collapse. The government is telling you, come to the park and bring your resume. There's some foreigners who will be into town, will give you a job, rather than redefining the hospitality product. And let's go build some bed and breakfast. Let's go have fintech and DeFi and property tech and offtake agreement and backstop agreements and get the money into here. Whether we put it into a sovereign wealth fund, bring in some sovereign asset management people, and let's build a better Bahamas for Bahamians, rather than giving crown land. Listen to me, just let me, before we run out of time, listen to this carefully. If we only have 1 million acres of crown land left, I want Bahamians to listen to me, get your pen and calculator out. If we only have 1 million acres of crown land left, I want you to imagine that we take 50,000 of those land, or let's just bring it down lower. Let's take 100,000 acres of the land we have, some properties, and put a value, a developmental value, not sell it. Just saying this land has the ability of beachfront property to generate $300,000 times 50,000 or 100,000 by 300,000, and you get, if you times 50,000 by 300,000, you end up with $15 billion. If you times 100,000 by 300,000, you end up with $30 billion. We can put that 100,000 acres in a sovereign fund today and go to the marketplace and ask for low ball. This piece of land can develop $300,000 worth of income, and we can raise the $30 billion today. Do it right now in your calculator. But the government has crown land, give 1,000 acres to Bahama, 100 acres over here, 500 acres over here, 1,000 acres the other day with agreement. But they wouldn't put 50,000 in a sovereign wealth fund for you to leverage, to lend you the money to build your house interest-free or whatever else. Just do the calculation. Do the calculation. 50,000 by 300,000, do 100,000 by 300,000, and tell me what you get. And tell me that the economists in the government office don't know the same formula. That the prime minister, the keeper of crown land, doesn't know this. Tell me those land barons that are selling you a fraction of an acre for $200,000 don't know this. We are the suckers in this whole thing. You know what we are? We the conk. We the conk, and every day we asking them, beat me, beat me, me, beat me. Let's stop being conks.
Wow.
We need to create a sovereign wealth fund that put every asset, known and unknown, seen and unseen, tangible and intangible, into a sovereign wealth fund for the benefits of Bahamian. And then we get a sovereign asset management company to run it. the way Singapore and Norway and the rest of them do. And we will have trillions of dollars in this sovereign wealth fund in the shortest period of time, not billions, trillions. Our airspace, our shipping lanes, our aragonite, our billions of dollars in gold and what is it, in sunken treasures, our carbon credits. Okay, do you know the National Geographic says the caves in the Bahamas, the crystal caves in the Bahamas cannot be valued because they don't know how to count that high? The caves of Abaco. Google crystal caves of Abaco. Google crystal caves of Grand Bahama. Just Google it. The information is right there. The oldest living creature, what's this, stromatolites, the oldest living creature on Earth can only be found in the Exumas. What is it? The history of the world is in the blue holes in the Bahamas, the largest area for birds. We the largest area of mangrove. The Nature Conservatory, the Prime Minister said he can try to raise up like $1 billion. The Nature Conservatory a decade ago says our carbon credits in the Bahamas is valued between $10 and $12 billion per year. But the Prime Minister tells you he's only going to get $1 billion.
All right.
How long do we count?
We are out of time. I will save that last comment as your final thought. I will accept that as your final thought on the matter. Obviously, this is a discussion that needs to
my final thought is tell them to go find their MP and call and make me out to be a liar.
All right. I think they heard you. Gotta go, though. Only less than a minute left. Thank you so much, C. Allen, for always bringing insight into these discussions. Tomorrow is Friday, TGIF. We're going to have an open line show tomorrow where we talk about the week that was. However, this evening, I have been invited to co-host ZNS, to co-anchor, I should say, ZNS News as a part of their 45th anniversary celebrations. So make sure to tune in to see if your girls still got it. Until tomorrow, I'm Michelle Malcolm. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys. Have a good one.
Global 99.5 FM reminds our listeners that the views and opinions expressed on this show are those of the host and guests and not necessarily the opinions of the owners of Global Communications Network and the operators of this